Hello and welcome back to Talking Europe. For months, European leaders have sought a united response to the US Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. That plan, announced by the White House last year, favors American-made climate technology through subsidies and tax credits. But EU chiefs say that policy discriminates against Europe, Washington's closest partner, at a time when the West's rivals, particularly Russia and China, are closely watching for any cracks in the transatlantic alliance. Some EU leaders paint a dark picture of Europe's deindustrialization if Europe fails to make bold decisions. Well, the special summit of EU leaders on February the 9th and 10th in Brussels will try to find a way forward. In the meantime, I'm joined by Christophe Hansen, a Luxembourgish Christian Democrat who is with the centre-right European People's Party, and he sits on the Committee for International Trade at the European Parliament here. Welcome to you. Welcome to the programme. I'm also joined by Martin Schirdewan, a German MEP and co-chair of the Left Group, and he's also the chair of the German party Die Linke. In the European Parliament, he's a member of the Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs. Welcome to you as well.
Thank you.
Martin, if we could start with you on this question of deindustrialization, because you represent constituents in Thuringia in eastern Germany, where this whole question of industrial decline is very relevant, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed. In Thuringia, there is located the glass manufacturing industry in Germany that produces actually the major part of glass bottles, glass jars, etc., that are used in Germany. And this is a highly energy consumptive industry, and that was affected by the energy price hike a lot. And then Biden introduced his IRA and his idea of subsidizing renewable energies in the United States, and that put a lot of pressure also, of course, on the German industry, and especially on highly energy consumptive industries like the glass industry in my constituency.
Give us a very quick snapshot. What has the effect been already? Is it very tangible, the effects on these industries?
It is. Now? It's mainly small and medium-sized enterprises with thousands of workers, and many of them were facing bankruptcy for some months, and now, due to the help of the federal and the local government, via subsidies, they at least could avoid bankruptcy. But in the future, they need a future perspective. And this is the question, how can we deal with the future green transition also in Germany?
Christophe Hansen, so what about this industrial question in Luxembourg? Just paint a picture for us, for our viewers, very generally first.
Yes, in Luxembourg we still have steel industry, aluminum industry, glass industry as well. And those are very, very energy intensive. So there is firstly the cost of the energy that has skyrocketed meanwhile. Secondly, we have as well the emissions, and they have to pay to pollute, let's say. And those prices are going up as well. And now, thirdly, there is the IRA, and there is a certain insecurity. So some might be tempted either to make their future investments elsewhere in the world, or at least hesitate to invest in Luxembourg, hesitate to invest in new technologies that would be less energy intensive. So this is the real threat that we are feeling, and there is a general slowdown. There is as well a slowdown and the problem of our supply chains, and those are the multiple crises that they are currently faced with.
But having said all that, I gather you're not in favour of a major increase in subsidies?
No, subsidies by itself is not the solution to the problem, or let's say it's the wrong solution to the right problem. So we know exactly where the biggest problem comes from. China is one of the major problems. They have at least double the state aids that we have in the European Union, and there is an unfair competition there clearly. And we have meanwhile as well set up some autonomous tools, mainly the IPI, the International Procurement Instrument, but as well the instrument on foreign subsidies. So we can now as well exclude Chinese competitors if they don't comply or give undue subsidies to their companies, and we can avoid this unfair competition, but this now needs to enter into force first.
Are those instruments your colleague is mentioning, are they enough, or does there have to be a major subsidy policy now?
Yeah, well, I tend to disagree actually, Christophe, here, because I think that the IRA poses a major challenge for the European economy.
Definitely.
And at the same time, the introduction of the IRA by the Biden government, has been the prolongation of the America First policies by Donald Trump, by the Donald Trump administration. So it has been a nightmare for the transatlantic partnership and for those who believe in that. And I think the answer is more European sovereignty, meaning that we are also capable as Europeans to invest into our economy in order to boost economic development, and especially when it comes to strategic sectors and technologies that will be relevant in the future. And therefore, we need a major subsidy program, we need investments, we need also the question to refocus on the question of own resources. And this is what Biden does actually. He finances a program with the minimum corporate tax by closing loopholes for super rich and companies, etc. So this is very progressive indeed, and we need to do the same here in Europe, I think.
But this, I believe, is not the right way forward for two reasons. We are in principle allied with the US on subsidies matters, because we face the same problems, the same challenge, mainly imposed by China. So the thing, in my opinion, is to have talks directly with the United States. They are ongoing currently, and to get the same advantages for our companies, because I think the principle of the IRA is not bad, because they are as well back on track when it comes to combat climate change, for example. So they are investing over 300 billion until 2032, so this should be welcomed. But now we need a clear engagement with the United States in order to get this discrimination or this Buy America First strategy, to get this out of the dialogue. We are allies against major opponents that try to put us apart, to better rule us, and that is the real problem here. So I think fight subsidies with subsidies is the wrong way, and anyhow it's posing a major problem as well inside the European Union, because bigger member states have bigger means, and there we will break down as well one of our big advantages, which is our internal market. We will play out big member states against small member states, and there is a severe risk. We are now here as well celebrating the 30th anniversary of the internal market, and that is something that we have to take into account.
If I could just get you also to respond, because that's really the key issue. It's a country like Germany having then an unfair advantage if the state aid rules are reformed.
Well, I think actually, and again, Christophe, you are saying many things that I could agree with, but the general line that we have to strengthen the internal market as it is, I do disagree with. Because I think that the reform of the internal market is long overdue, and that we need a reform of state aid rules, we need a reform in the European Union of competition law, we need to revisit the debt and deficit rules, meaning what we need is actually a functioning economy and a macroeconomic framework that delivers. And this is what we are far away from, and to talk to the United States and to convince them by talking that they let go of their America First strategy, that is wishful thinking, I think. But what we need to do is actually to reply in a way that enables us as Europeans to develop our own strong economy, and to be clear, when I say own strong economy, I'm meaning also future technologies, renewable energies, climate neutral transition of the industrial base of the European Union in order to secure our jobs here in the European Union. And that doesn't mean that we can comply with the America First approach of the United States.
So some sort of buy European measure, if not necessarily made in Europe obligations. Is that the way forward?
The problem is that this works maybe for some very basic products, but when we are talking about the clean technologies, about chips, etc., this is not as simple to manufacture as one would imagine.
Because of international supply chains?
Because of international supply chains that are currently still disrupted because of COVID, because of the strict Chinese COVID rules as well. But as well, to manufacture a chip, it's not just one or two ingredients, it's over 1,000 different components that you will need. That is not something that you will be able to install from one day to another. We are highly dependent on the import of critical raw materials, and therefore I welcome very much that in this proposal now by Ursula von der Leyen as well, there is a real strategy. And for that as well, it is very important to get new reliable partners, because on those critical raw materials, we mainly rely on 2 or 3 countries, and they are having the power there. So I think it's very important that we talk now again to Chile, that we talk about Mercosur, to do finally these trade agreements. They have been too long going down the road. We now need really to make their sincere progress, because we need to ensure our access to this critical raw materials. Otherwise, manufacturing and industrial strategy back home is simply not working because of our dependencies.
But Christophe, that sounds to me like clinging to a dogma that is also overcome, I mean, or should be overcome as soon as possible. I mean, free trade agreements will only constrain our own capability. Free trade led to the major deindustrializations of European regions.
I attempt to disagree on that one.
Just a quick wrap, if you could, Christophe, sorry, because we're running out of time. So just a quick response to that, if you don't mind.
Yes, I believe that the deindustrialization has other reasons. It's because our companies don't have the same planning security as they would get on other sites. We have way higher labor costs. We have way higher environmental standards. We have way higher...
That's good. That's good.
Which is good. Yes. But then, of course, we need as well to acknowledge it is these reasons that are responsible, and not open trade, because even the United States, without us, without the Chinese, their economy wouldn't work. So this is something where I understand the romantic view that you might have, that we can produce everything domestically, no free trade, no connections, but we know we are trading with almost all the countries of the entire world.
That is a better approach.
We'll have to let viewers judge whether that was a romantic approach or not. But thank you so much to both of my guests, Martin Schirdewan and Christophe Hansen. And that's all for this edition of Talking Europe. Do stay with us. On the 9th and 10th of February, we'll be bringing you live coverage, of course, of that crucial EU summit, which will be responding to these US subsidies. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.